Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah. This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
All right, welcome into the big show. This is Follow the Money. No Mitch Moss, no Paul Howard, both on vacation. And JVT, my co-host here for the next 3 hours. We're going to be talking a lot of NFL draft, NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs. How about baseball? Right now in progress, the Cubs and D-backs, wind blowing out today at Wrigley Field. And if you thought that was going to mean a high-scoring game in Chicago, so far, you're wrong. Bottom of the sixth inning, Cubs 2, D-backs 1. Here at Circa, the D-backs closed the slightest of favorites, -108, Cubs -104. But the total, 11.5. And again, 3 runs on the board in the bottom of the sixth inning with the Cubs up 2-1 and at the plate. Check in on a RBC Heritage Golf Tournament. PGA Tour makes a stop this week in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Justin Thomas, who went off 22-1 here at Circus Sports. The leader after round 1, he was a 10 under. He shot a 61 yesterday. We joked around, said, what's he going to shoot in round 2? Probably a 70. Well, right now, he is even par through 11 holes in the second round, tied for the lead, and Scotty Scheffler sitting 2 strokes back. JVT, welcome in. How you doing today?
Matt, I'm great. I've actually been sitting here the whole time. Theater of the mind. I appreciate you doing that score update. Do you have anything here, RBC Heritage?
I do have Scotty Scheffler and a few other bets this week. I thought Scheffler's comments after the Masters where he said, I started to feel like myself in the 4th round. I got my game back, or I feel like I can win. I also heard that Scheffler was sick during the Masters, which might explain why he walked around like a zombie and he had that lost look in his eyes for 4 days. Apparently, a source close to him at Augusta said he was sick all week. So Scotty Scheffler won on this course last year after he won the Masters, pulled off the daily double. And I thought, well, I bet him last week. I bet him to win. I bet him top 5, top 10. I better bet him this week in case he wins again. I don't like to bet plus 450 or 5-1 on a player to win a golf tournament. But I did play Scheffler, and I played some other longer shots too. So far, the longer shots are not in contention. So that's where we stand so far. How about this game at Wrigley I was talking about? Did you see the report of 20-mile-an-hour wind gusts blowing out today? The total, 11.5, and we have a 2-1 game in the 6th inning.
I was going to say, so this was, I believe I saw a baseball writer tweet out, like, this is the first day we get wind blowing out at Wrigley. And I think everybody and their mother was on top of it. And sure enough, that is not the case. In-game total is now down to 8.5.
Yes.
I would venture to guess that maybe sometimes it's a little bit of an overreaction to just bet based on the wind, although I guess it is a big factor. But I do find it hilarious because I'm sure a lot of people were in on this over. But it is a busy day. We do have a great show on tap. We have 4 great guests with us: Macero, Adam Hill, Aaron Renning, Dennis Bernstein, all the bases, not just baseball. But we do have 2 play-in games tonight, Matt, and I did want to start there.
I got to tell you, last night was just a brutal night in sports.
There's nothing going on.
With no NBA playoffs. You're like, give us a game. Just give us a bad game. Anything.
Wow. I never thought I'd hear the day. Huh?
Well,
I'm here to see it.
It is
where Matt Youmans is asking for an NBA game. Where is it?
It is late April, and when there were a couple of bad baseball and hockey games on last night, and that was it. Chris Macero, who's our first guest today, said last night was in contention for one of the worst sports days of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be up there with, obviously, that all-star break week in Major League Baseball where there's literally nothing going on.
There was not much yesterday.
But yesterday there was not much, and I'm with you. It was kind of a bummer. So we get 2 today. I actually wanted to start in the Western Conference because the real concern is with the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. The Grizzlies are 6-point favorites with a total that is 220.5. We saw this open 222. But the question is the health of one Ja Morant tonight. Now, there are no indications that he will miss the game, but some of the noise coming out of Memphis is pretty troubling. Shams reported that Ja Morant is, quote, determined to play tonight for the Memphis Grizzlies. We got the report that he underwent an injection on Thursday for the ankle, that there is significant swelling. So this is a real question. Look, Morant is already not a great defender. He is already a less than stellar half-court offensive player. Yes, he's very good in transition, but half-court offense really isn't that great for them overall. And now, as 6-point favorites against a Mavericks team that proved that the market's still pretty low and too low on this team after they beat the crap out of the Sacramento Kings the other day, I think Dallas is pretty live here to stay inside of this number and be our first 10 seed to move on from the play-in NBA history.
Mavericks can make history after trading Luka Doncic.
Right.
How about that?
They're going to look back and say, see, that's what we're talking about.
Nico Harrison said, just step back, give us some time, don't evaluate the trade yet.
When he said defense wins championships, he meant play-in championships. That's what he was talking
about. Here's the thing about the Grizzlies. I wonder, they put so much into that game against the Warriors a couple of nights ago. You wonder if this is going to be a bit of a letdown spot for them. That was a big game in Golden State. They made a big comeback, had a great shot to win that game late. And now you got Ja Morant on a bad ankle. And the Mavericks rolling in there, I think, actually playing some pretty good basketball. So I have not bet this yet. I'm not sure if I will. If I do, I'll probably live bet it, but it would be dog or pass for me.
Yeah, and look, I just think, too, like, look at the personnel that the Mavericks have, right? We know Anthony Davis is a very good player when he is on the floor. It's always just been the question is of when. They're a versatile defensive team because you have with him P.J. Washington and Klay Thompson, who are very switchable, solid defensively. They can shoot. Like, they have multiple guys on the floor that can shoot at any one time. And then backing up Anthony Davis is going to be one Derek Lively. So, like, this is, as I keep saying, this is 4 of the 5 they envisioned when they did this trade. As stupid as you want to say it was, you're only missing Kyrie Irving right now when you're talking about this Mavericks team. And I think there's this perception that this is just a moribund squad that's got nothing going for them. And the reality is we haven't really seen this version of Dallas too much. And with Anthony Davis out there, I think they deserve to be upgraded a little bit here. And for the market to say that this Memphis team is, 3.5 points better than what this Dallas Mavericks team is going to put out there, I think is flawed, especially with the injury concerns of one Ja Morant.
Wow,
So
I agree. I thought the number was high. I thought you were going to see 3.5 in this game. Also, think about the matchup difference between the Warriors, who played small ball, and the Mavericks, who are going to be bigger, right?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to grab 40% of your missed shot opportunities here. And as you pointed out, and we talked about in that day, they were also down by 20 in that game. So, like, it's not like they were tooth and nail with the Warriors the entire time. It was an absolute nightmare for them. So we'll see if they can pull this off again. Really much lean toward the Dallas Mavericks here in this spot. For a little bit of history, the 10 seeds in the play-in tournament, the Hawks and the Warriors in 2024, they were eliminated in 2023. Raptors and Pelicans were eliminated. Hornets and Spurs were eliminated in 2022. And then in 2021, Hornets and Spurs once again were also eliminated. So we're sitting back to see if the Mavericks, again, can be the first 10 seed to move on. The other one, we've had a flip of favorites here. Miami Heat at the Atlanta Hawks. We saw the Hawks initially open up as about 1.5 point favorites. The initial move over at DraftKings was actually to add the hook on to Atlanta, but now we have flipped, and Miami is a 1 point favorite. Total's been bet down. How about this? From 228.5 was the initial number of DraftKings, all the way down now to as low as 218.5 before getting back up to 221. So that's pretty much where we sit right now across the board. Not surprised. Miami looks the part against a Chicago Bulls team, which has been playing pretty well, but it looked like turned into a pumpkin. Heat culture, Eric Spoelstra, we know what he can do with just pretty much anything. I think he could take you, me, Luke, and a couple of others from the back and make a team that is actually somewhat formidable on the court. I don't blame the market coming in here in a Southeast Division clash, by the way.
It is.
Yeah, and betting in on Miami. Yeah, right, exactly.
I was reminded last night by a VSiN viewer that at the All-Star break, Joe Sorallo, his dad, George Sorallo, Father Knows Bets, and JVT all picked the Hawks to win the Southeast Division.
Yes. I mean, I heard them, and I was like, that explanation is too good to be true, and I've tailed them. So
it didn't work out.
It didn't work out, so I blame them. But I still have the Hawks to make the playoffs ticket, too, at about 210. So
all right, got that going for you.
Got a little bit of life here. And, look, you could sit back and bet the other side, but it's not a big bet, so let's just ride with Atlanta. So I do have Atlanta tonight in some form or fashion to get this done. I'm sure the Hawks will let me down. They have let me down many, many times.
I'm not a Quinn Snyder fan.
You don't like his red-rimmed glasses? And
he's a weirdo. He is. I'm not a fan of that guy. I don't think he's a great tactical coach either, and Eric Spoelstra is. And you got to give the coaching edge to the Heat in a matchup like this, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And look, the Heat are going to throw a lot of different stuff out there. We'll have some player prop stuff a little bit later. But, like, you're going to throw a bunch of different things. You're going to probably see his own defense at some point in this game if you're the Atlanta Hawks. You're just going to have many different things that you're going to adjust to. I will say, in the first matchup for Miami in the play-in, you got to take advantage of a team that was going to play some drop coverage with their big, and you were going to be able to go at them. It's not going to be like that high volume of drop coverage that you're going to see here this time around. Tyler Hero thrives in that sort of an instance, right? That pull-up midi that he's got. I don't think that's going to be the case here in a matchup like this. You've got the great barrier thief, Dyson Daniels. You've got some, switchability there at the wing position that you can throw at Tyler Hero and others in this game like that. You've got some athletic bigs that you can put on Bam Adebayo that I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world. I think Atlanta matches up a little bit better here. And again, I believed in them for a while, but I have been burned before. Wouldn't be surprised if the money continues to come in here on Miami, though. Usually with these games, we might see like some back and forth. I'd expect like Miami closes like solid 1.5 by the time we get to tip tonight.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right. I would say it's a 2-dog night for me. I like both dogs in the NBA games.
Really? You're going to trust in the Hawks despite Quinn Snyder?
But I think I'm going to live bet both games.
Well, that's the other part. So I think for Dallas and Memphis, I think take 6 because I think that there is some inherent value in that number. But for this one, like you're pointing out,
not taking plus 1.5.
Dude, it's a 1-point spread, right? I mean, this game's going to start. Atlanta's going to hit 3 threes, and all of a sudden they're going to be up 9-0. You're going to be able to get something on Miami.
Right.
Vice versa.
I would assume there's going to be a chance we're going to get the Heat plus 3.5 or 4.5, right?
Yes,
at least.
It's more than likely. We know about these basketball games. We are probably going to get that at some point. So I would agree with you. I think that's the way to handle this thing. All right, coming up in about 20 minutes from now, Chris Spittin' Mad Macero is going to join us. We'll get his thoughts on the NBA postseason and what he's got. He's got some futures going on. Can't wait for Adam Hill in the Las Vegas View Journal. He's going to join us at the top of the next hour to get the Raiders' perspective on everything happening there. I don't think they should take Ashton Genty. What's the latest? Will they do it? Professional bettor Aaron Renning also in that same hour to give us his best bets for the NBA postseason. And very excited at 6:30 Eastern to talk to Dennis Bernstein to look ahead to the Stanley Cup postseason, SiriusXM NHL Radio. When we come back, though, less than a week away, and we have some more intel on how teams are going to handle the first round in the NFL draft. We'll tell you what that is when we return.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Bottom of the 7th in a blustery affair out in Wrigley. Winds blowing out. Total's 11.5. It's 2-1 still at the bottom of the 7th inning. We'll keep an eye on that. And we are also watching Scotty Scheffler on the 14th out of the RBC Heritage. He is 8 under. And if he's on the 14th, he's through 13. If you could not track that, 2 strokes back from Justin Thomas and Siwoo Kim, who are at 10 under, and the leaders at this point right now. But the NFL draft approacheth, less than a week away, and so we are waiting with bated breath to get to Thursday. Very excited. Make sure you're here on VSiN, by the way. We'll have a great draft special. I will not remember who's all on it. I know Tim Murray's on it, though. So make sure you watch a special VSiN primetime throughout, as they will keep you up to date next Thursday on the NFL draft. To go to the website for a lot of great content there, too. So we're getting more information, getting a lot more information. And Adam Schefter, a man, is plugged in more than most. And we want to play this because we have some insight on the quarterback, specifically Shedeur Sanders. Adam, take it away.
The fact of the matter is, when you talk to people around the league, I don't think they believe the Saints are taking Shedeur Sanders. So if the Giants aren't taking Shedeur at 3, and if the Saints aren't taking Shedeur at 9, now let's start to think and wonder about where Shedeur Sanders is going to go in the, Laura, that is the spot that makes the most sense. Yeah. But would there be a team that jumps up in front of the Steelers? Do they value Shedeur Sanders enough to do that? Would the Giants go ahead and take him at 3? Because right now, it certainly feels like his range, which is a wide range, wider than most players in a draft, is 3 to 21, and I don't like the chances of him going 9.
Okay. First off, a quick complaint out of the way. Mm-hmm. We don't need the like every time someone's making a point, we get the strength of the point.
Who was doing that?
I don't know. Somebody in the background was doing it.
Studio.
Make a point real quick. Say something. Yeah, exactly. We don't need it. So, draft position. Shedeur Sanders is obviously going to be a very popular bet. He's a big name. He is a Colorado great who is getting his number retired. He is right now.
That's ridiculous, by the way. But I contacted Mike Pritchard about this.
Lobbed it up.
Mike Pritchard.
You knocked it out of the park.
Mike Pritchard, wide receiver for Colorado's national championship
What's
team.
Mike ever done?
1990. Huh?
What's Mike ever done for Colorado?
First-round draft pick. He was a top 15 pick. I called Mike and I said, hey, what do you think about this? Yeah, he wasn't thrilled about it, but he didn't, rip Dion or the program. But no, his number never got retired, and I'm pretty sure he said none of the players from that championship team had their numbers retired. So Shedeur Sanders, who went 13-12 as a starting quarterback for the Buffaloes and finished 8th in the Heisman race, got his number retired. And Deion Sanders went off on the media saying, if his last name wasn't Sanders, we wouldn't be talking about this. You're right. If his last name wasn't Sanders, he wouldn't have his number retired. If Deion didn't force Colorado to basically retire his son's number, it wouldn't have happened. Yep. Colin Cowherd put out his much-anticipated mock draft. I knew you'd like that.
I'm a Colin guy.
Guess who's going number 3?
Shedeur.
To the Giants.
Okay, maybe he knows something.
Okay.
He did. Well, actually, I will say to Colin, he did have a report. He was ahead of the turn on Nico Iamaleava to UCLA.
Well, I mean, he works out of L.A., and somebody from UCLA tipped him off to that. Hey, he's coming here.
Yeah, maybe. Also, I don't think it's official yet either, so I mean, he could still be wrong. So Shedeur Sanders, draft position 8.5, overs minus 350. This is a information-based event. There are times where people would shy away from laying big prices. You are such people. You don't like to lay big prices.
No.
Minus 350, over 8.5. Seems like a lock it up. Every bit of information is pointing to this outside of, as you said, the much-anticipated Colin Cowherd mock draft. Every point of information is saying past the Saints, Shedeur is going to be available.
Yeah, we talked about this last week where the Saints don't like Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
They really have shown no interest in working him out.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to take him at number 9. They might take Jackson Dart. I still think that's a reach to take him at number 9. Saints could trade down if they like him and take Dart later. But it appears the Saints have no interest in Sanders, and that's been true for a while now. Mm-hmm. It's not a revelation that Adam Schefter just announced that. I think the window for Shedeur Sanders is actually now outside the top 10. That's where it starts. And I'm not sure the floor is 21.
You think he'd go farther, yeah.
He might go later in the first round. He might go early second round. I think he's going to be a first-round pick, but I would say his window is somewhere between 10 and 32.
Yep. So that ties into a couple of things. So ESPN also had this article out. It was the latest draft intel. Now, I fell for the clickbait because reading it, it sounded just like some guys guessing as to what was going to happen, but whatever. But Field Yates and some others, I think it was Matt Miller who was among them, were talking about some of the latest buzz around this. This ties into Shedeur. There was 2 points here. The first of which is Yates and Miller were selling the idea of Shedeur Sanders being drafted by the Saints. That seems to be stronger and stronger now at this point, too. To that point, if you piece all the information together, earlier this week when Mitch and I were together, we had Mike Detillier on. He says that they're not going to take a quarterback at 9, so maybe that sells the idea of Dart. But either way, Shedeur seems to be 9 available on. We'll see if that's the case. Yates also believes that Jackson Dart and even Tyler Shuck could go ahead of Shedeur Sanders. Now, that doesn't mean Shuck's going to be a first-round pick. Could be a second-round pick. But the whole point is that all the momentum is potentially pointing to Shedeur Sanders being the third or maybe even, and I would call that still a long shot, but still even the fourth quarterback taken.
If he's the fourth quarterback taken, he goes in the second round, do they still retire his number?
Of course. He's achieved a lot of great things there at Colorado. Remember that time when they covered against USC?
I do.
Yeah. It was great.
I do not believe Tyler Shuck is going to be drafted before Shedeur Sanders.
I think the real question is who goes first, Shedeur or Jalen Milroe now? If we're believing the intel as to this being the tepid order seems to be Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Shedeur, maybe Milroe.
Well, you asked me yesterday what draft bet I liked the best. I said Dart to be the second quarterback at plus 200. Jalen Milroe is interesting too because he's a freak athlete. Sometimes when you watch him, you say, "Man, that guy reminds you a little bit of Lamar Jackson." And then other times you watch him and you say he reminds you of Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He can't throw the ball, very inaccurate. I'm not crazy about him. Chris Collinsworth was actually on a podcast this week. I saw a clip of it on Twitter. Collinsworth said he thinks Jalen Milroe to the Steelers at number 21 is live.
Okay. What does Jack Collinsworth think, though?
I didn't hear his opinion.
Oh, okay. That's the important one. You can still get at DraftKings right now, second quarterback market, Shedeur Sanders minus 250. Jackson Dart at 2-1, then Jalen Milroe at 6-1. And then you get into Cam Ward at 50-1, obviously. Here's the real thing, because actually it is very true, it could be very true, that Shedeur Sanders is slipping and could be available for the Pittsburgh Steelers in that 21 range, right, wherever they're picking?
I think so.
But so my point, though, is
I think they should pull the plug on the Aaron Rodgers thing pretty soon, too.
Yeah, we played that clip yesterday about all this nonsense, the 10 M's that are allegedly he is willing to take. But my whole point here is there is still a reality where Shedeur is slipping to the fringes of the first round, and he's also still the second quarterback taken.
Yeah, I think that's true.
You know what I mean? Because I still go.
I'm not going to fall off my chair next Thursday night during the draft show if Jackson Dart slips to the second round, too. It could happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I still keep going back, man. I could be wrong, but I think this is that Kenny Pickett draft all over again.
Well, these quarterbacks are a little bit better in that draft.
A little bit, but not by much. And I don't know. Maybe you get 2, but either way, I don't think that we're going to have these rush of teams willing to jump over each other to get one of these guys. You know, it almost seems like the Titans are taking Cam Ward by default just because they're number one and they just need a quarterback.
They have to have a quarterback. Cam Ward does have, I think, 165 total touchdown passes in his college career.
We do. Ooh, by the way, Ian Happ with
a grand
slam.
Grand slam, and the total is now alive at Wrigley Field.
Wind's blowing out, baby.
Wow.
7 runs now. It's 6-1. Chicago up on top. Wind carried that one.
Ian Happ into the second row of the bleachers. That was a wind-blown home run. That's a grand slam. 6-1 Cubs. Somebody
out there's like, see, I told you.
Yeah, right.
The other bit of intel that was in this article, so it was about that. Mm-hmm. One of the other interesting pieces was, and I actually like the strategy if Cleveland's going to go this way, was 2 of the 3 reporters in the article agreed that Cleveland will be looking at Jalen Milroe later in the draft. Yes, in the second round.
I believe that.
Yep.
I believe it.
The other is, and this one I think is more interesting.
So no Quinn Ewers talk, huh?
No Quinn Ewers talk.
That's interesting.
I thought he was still in college. He's in this draft?
Yeah, he could go back for his 7th year.
I thought this was the more interesting nugget out of all of these here because there are very many who have these top 4 kind of locked in some of these mock drafts. Miller believes that Armand Membu could actually be the first offensive lineman taken.
I could see that happening. You could definitely pick on some of the traits of, I'm not convinced that the Patriots are going to do it for what everyone thinks they're going to do.
Yeah, of course.
And Membu is that's a gamble probably worth taking. Maybe he could be the first offensive lineman off the board.
We'll
see what Chris Macero thinks of the Patriots pick coming up here in about 10 minutes.
Chris and Matt Macero coming up next, folks. VSiN.com/subscribe. Get in on the summer special, VSiN Pro Access through August 1st for less than $60. Everything we do, the best bets, betting splits, analysis, and more, go to VSiN.com/subscribe and check it out today. Macero will join us next. And as C. Spackler checks in and says, Shedeur probably scrambles his own eggs, Matt.
No comment.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Welcome back in. We are tracking the game out at Wrigley, a fun one only because of the drama involving the total. Closed 11.5 pre-flop. We finally got a grand slam here in the 7th from Ian Happ that pushes this thing to 6-1, bottom of the 7th inning. So we'll see if this thing can get over. Before we head out to the Progressive Guest Line and welcome in Chris Macero, another run gets driven in. Man, I have a little bit of trivia for you, okay? Since March 3rd, 18-4 with the second best net rating in non-garbage time, first in the NBA in offensive rating, and 5th in the NBA in defensive rating. Do you know who that would be?
I would say the Clippers.
And why that date is relevant is because it harkens back to this. Kawhi Leonard and James Harden are done. It's over. You're watching it in real time, back-to-back games versus the Lakers. These 2 guys have nothing left. Clippers are toast this year and for the foreseeable future. 2 dinosaurs. Chris Mad Macero now joins us on the Progressive Guest Line. How do you answer to your transgressions to the 18-4 team since that tweet was sent out, sir?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I had those same numbers right in front of me. I was going to do the mea culpa. Apparently, Kawhi and James Harden went to that same doctor that LeBron goes to. That's the only explanation. No, it's unbelievable. Since March 2nd, March 3rd, the tweet I put out, Kawhi Leonard, 19 games, 25.6, 7 rebounds, 3.4 assists. James Harden, 25.5, 5.5 boards, 9+ assists. And Zubac, even just as incredible, 19.9, 9.2 rebounds, 3 assists. And if there's one team that really scares you for the Western Conference, it's got to be the Clippers. I still can't believe the odds are as high as they are on them. I guess they're suppressed a little because of the Lakers and obviously OKC. In full transparency, I have 2 really big tickets on OKC that closed that I had with Florida and the Eagles for the Super Bowl that closed for a substantial amount of money. So I'm looking at, dabbling in on the Clippers. Definitely. I got them at 16-1 for the conference, and I'll probably bet some no. I think I talked to Jeff Benson this week. He says after the first round of the playoffs, and I assume OKC will still be in at that point, where they could face the Clippers in the second round. He said that they're going to keep the no prices up for the Western Conference. So that was good news for me, because I'm just a little afraid of this Clippers team, and you got to be a little bit afraid of the Laker team, the way they played OKC the last couple of games, obviously with the 2 big superstars in Luka and LeBron. So it'll be exciting. It's one of the, if you look at these teams, it's what an NBA playoffs. There's so many good teams. It's not just the old days where you pencil in the two teams from each conference into the finals.
Wow, so you're saying the NBA now is better than the old days? Is that what you just said?
Well, no, we're not going that far. I mean, I sent you that video of Johnny Most with the duct tape on his headset last night, screaming about the Pistons. I mean, you can't beat that one. So, no, I just think if you just look at the matchups, I mean, obviously the Celtics are going to beat Orlando, and then Cleveland's going to beat whoever wins the play-in, and OKC is probably going to win. But I mean, 2 versus 7, you got Houston versus Golden State, and that's a series I really like the Rockets in. I don't understand the price. I know when Jeff Sherman put it out right away the other night that it was plus 175. I said, you got to get on that right now, because how on earth is the Rockets going to be underdog in the series? I still can't believe they're underdog, just based on the fact they're a defensive team with so many bodies that can throw at Clay. I mean, they can throw at Steph and Jimmy Butler, and you get a defensive-minded coach. Yes, they don't have the go-to guy at the last minute of the game. Obviously, that's the one quandary. But I just think with all the defensive guys they have, it's going to be tough for Golden State to win this series.
All right, 2-part question here about the NBA. One is the 2 dinosaurs and the Clippers against Joker, the best player in the world. How do you expect that series to turn out? How have you bet it? And are you betting the Celtics to sweep or win them 5 games?
I would not go Celtics sweep, as we've all seen the last few years, even the year when they went to the finals, or 2 years ago when they blew it. They had so many troubling games versus the bottom dregs of the playoffs, where they're 12, 13, 15-point favorites, and they're losing the game outright, which I just, you kind of find shocking, but it's just kind of what they do. They kind of fall asleep. I think you mentioned the number last night, where if they don't shoot above 28% from 3, which happens, once in a series, they're very susceptible to losing the game, no matter who they're playing or what the spread is. So I saw some options where you could bet the sweep or any other result. I think it was maybe minus 165. Any other result, I would go any other result, just because the Celtics tend to fall asleep one game. And you figure they're not going to be trying to push the pace too much, because they got the Jaylen Brown injury. You got Porzingis that's always questionable, and you just figure they might just give one away to Orlando. Maybe the gentleman sweep in 5. What was the first question, Matt? I'm sorry.
Clippers Nuggets. Did you bet the series? You think it's going to go 6 or 7?
I mean, I love the fact that you can bet, Nuggets in 7. You get a nice plus price. Then you're going to be favored in Game 7 at home. You can come back and take the Clippers. I can't see that game that series being shorter than 6 or 7 games, unless, of course, Murray comes out in the first game and he obviously doesn't have it, and then Joker's kind of on his own. I mean, that team is awesome when he's on the court, but when he's off the court, they're one of the worst offensive rating teams. JVT probably has the exact number, but they're one of the worst offensive rating teams in the NBA today. So it's going to be too much of a task for him to do it by himself. Murray's health is the big question. I'm not betting the series. I did take Clippers plus 1,600 to win the West as a hedge towards my OKC bets.
Chris Macero with us, professional bettor on the Progressive Guest Line, going over the NBA postseason, some of the series that we are going to see take place. The answer to the question, Jokic off the floor, an offensive rating of 106 flat, that ranks in the 8th percentile. Not very good. You don't want to be on the low side when it comes to percentiles. Chris, Warriors and Rockets, are you in agreement with me that price is still too high, even with the market coming in on Houston?
Yeah, it's still too high, and there's some great avenues. I know you guys have it up on the screen there where you can bet the exact result of the series. Now, I'm not saying the Rockets are going to sweep them, but what if they win the first two and then Curry's, has the injured hand? I mean, you could maybe see a sweep plus 1,600. Rockets 4-1 plus 800. Rockets 4-2 plus 800. I'm betting all four of these. I'm obviously going to put a little bit more on 4-3 Rockets because it pays the least. But I'm going to be on the Rockets at every game in this series. And another reason why is you're getting such low money lines when they're at home, and then you're going to get value on the road. There's going to be games where the Rockets just blow this team out. They have too many weapons on defense to shut them down. Curry's going to have a bad shooting night. They're going to steal a couple games. I see this being a long series as well, but I just feel like you're going to get great money line prices at Golden State, and the Rockets are only laying one at home. The numbers don't make sense. I know there's a lot of credit for Curry for what he's done in the league, but this Warriors team is undermanned, and now they have Kuminga, who doesn't play anymore. I don't know if he got in a fight with Steve Kerr or what's going on, but he's one of the bigger rebounders. They don't have anyone to rebound. I mean, you saw the other night, Edey got 17 rebounds in the play-in game. Who do the Rockets have to rebound the ball? I think Curry led the team in rebounds in the Memphis game the other night. That's not going to stand up for Sengun and all these bigs that Houston can throw at you. Not to mention Amen Thompson, Dylan Brooks, and Van Vliet just harassing Curry the whole time. They're going to be rough on him on the perimeter. They're going to be banging him around, and Dylan Brooks is going to be driving him nuts.
All right, before we move on to maybe a little bit of baseball, anything in the two play-in games tonight, Miami at Atlanta and Dallas at Memphis?
I think Dallas is gonna take it. I really do. I don't think John Morant's going to be 100%. That was a pretty bad ankle tweak the other night, and it'd be fun to have this Dallas situation keep going just due to the fact they made the ridiculous trade getting rid of Luka. And the other game, I don't have any feeling. It's tough to bet Atlanta. They don't play much defense. They don't play much offense either. They're just kind of a playground style. I would pass on that game, but I would lean Dallas a little bit.
All right, a couple things here. We're going to switch gears from the NBA. Baseball, how is your Dodgers -1.5, your runs line betting strategy working out so far? Dodgers on the road, open a series at Texas tonight.
Yeah, we were close to getting even the other night. It was 7-1 in the first inning. I was penciling in a win, but that went by the wayside as they only won 8-7. So we are down 1.5 units for the year. Just a little experiment, gives you some action every night. I don't think you'll be down too much or up much, either way, but it gives you a little bit of fun action, and it's been a good thing on social media. Everyone's, interested in it and having a little fun with it.
Are you going to stick with it? You're definitely going to stick with this Dodgers every game, huh?
Tonight's a great way to play it because you're going up against the star pitcher for Texas, and you're going to get plus money. So hey, why can't the Dodgers get a couple extra runs tonight? I'm just gonna go with it. I'm going to stick with it throughout the year. I'll have it every day they play, and we'll have some fun with it.
All right, after the break, I want to bring you back to get your thoughts on the NFL draft and what the Patriots might do here in the final minute. Any other baseball plays for you on a Friday night?
I played 3 games today. I'm going to ride with Jackson Jobe for Detroit. Detroit's been playing really well lately at plus 126. I liked Atlanta as well. It's almost a fade of Paddock on Minnesota. I don't understand why this guy takes any money. That line's moved from like 130 to 145. And I'm also riding the A's. They've won 3 in a row, albeit versus the White Sox, but I like the A's at a plus price versus Milwaukee.
All right, Chris Macero, Professional Bettor. He's going to hang out, but and we'll talk to him on the other side. Folks, Edge Boost, the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions approved, no usage fees, no minimums, or in cashback rewards, 100% approval for all betting deposits as well. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet, promo code FTM. I could have undercut it right there. Deposit $25, Edge Boost to match the deposit. That's edgeboost.bet, promo code FTM.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Before we get back to Chris Macero, we should note that we are over the total in Chicago. How about this? A 2-1 game heading into the 7th, and the total was 11.5.
Wow.
But thanks to 2 grand slams.
Just your routine game with 2 grand slams in the late innings.
Yes. To get this thing to now 7-5.
Wow.
Top of the 8th inning.
It was 2-1 when we came on the air, and now 12 runs on the board. And you're over the total before you get to the bottom of the 8th. 7-5, Cubs over the D-backs. What a wild one at Wrigley.
I'll admit, I was mocking those of you who had bet the game over. I was laughing. Looked foolish. And I'm sure there's a lot of...
imagine if you bet that under 11.5, you think you're sitting on a winner at 2-1 in the 7th, or was it 2-1 in the 5th or 6th inning?
I thought it was this 2-1 7th, wasn't it? Either way, a low-scoring game at first, and now we're over the total. All right, we head back out to the Progressive guest line. Chris Macero still with us, Professional Bettor. Chris, how active have you been in the NFL draft markets?
Not very active at all. It's not I know a lot of people love it. It's their favorite thing to do and try to figure out the puzzles of who everyone's going to take. But what I find is that, obviously if you get the right number and you're ahead of the game, like a lot of people are, like Matt has been throughout the years, that's fine and dandy. But I feel like one curveball pick kind of throws the whole thing out of whack. So I kind of look for that curveball, hopefully, and just have a more enjoyable night watching it, seeing all the crazy things like last year when they took Penix at 8 and you're just like, what the hell's going on? So I'm kind of hoping that maybe the Patriots do something like that this year. I mean, everyone, from ESPN to Matt to all these other ones, everyone's got him taking Will Campbell, and that's good. And at first, that's who I wanted. I thought he was you put it this way, he's a left tackle in the SEC going up against the best defensive players in the country, and he only let up like 1 or 2 sacks in his whole career, and he's a real lover of football, and they give you the thing with this, he's got the short arms and all this, but it's like, maybe there's something more because everyone, year after year, if you have a great left tackle, that's who you take unless you're going for the quarterback. So, maybe he is going to be great. And they said he's a real football guy, a locker room guy, and they got to build a new culture there with Andrews leaving the center. He's been the captain for a while. So they don't really have much on the offensive line. So if they do take him, I guess that's not the end of the world. They can stop building a new culture. He could be the leader of the line. But I wouldn't be opposed to them making a splash, like maybe going for Tyler Warren. I mean, they have no weapons. And this team, if there was a standout receiver that was like 100% was going to be a top 5 pick, that's who they'd go with. But this Warren kid, I mean, if you watch him over the last few games of the Penn State season, he was just an unstoppable force. I mean, even in the USC game, which was earlier in the year, I mean, I was on USC that day, and I'm screaming at my TV. I go, triple team this guy. He's unstoppable. He was probably one of the better players I saw in college football in a long time. And from a position you don't usually see it. It's like, they don't really activate the tight end that much in college football like as they do in the NFL, like a Gronkowski or a Kelsey. So, I mean, they could use him. I know they have some other tight ends. Hunter Henry's on the team, and those guys are just they're just okay players. I mean, this guy is a game changer. I mean, it's kind of a reach at 4, but I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Chris Macero, pro sports bettor out of San Diego, grew up in Boston, lifelong Patriots fan. All right, so Will Campbell is minus 225. Odds-on favorite at DraftKings to be the number 4 overall pick. But, Chris, you're saying maybe take a shot here. The other offensive lineman who's going to go in the top 10 is Armand Mimbu from Missouri. He's plus 650. Ashton Genty, running back from Boise State, 8-1. And Tyler Warren, 50-1. So you think maybe you'd take a shot on something aside from the obvious here to the Patriots at number 4?
Yeah, I mean, why not sprinkle a little bit on all 3 of those guys? I've been seeing the last couple of days a lot of talk about Genty, which is surprising to me because, I mean, who the heck drafts a running back that high? There was some banter going on in the Boston shows last night about, what if he was, Saquon Barkley? And people were like, it still doesn't matter. Saquon Barkley wasn't even good on a bad team. The running back doesn't make the offensive line. The offensive line makes the running back. It's, the old chicken and the egg situation. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if I would go for Genty. I mean, if you don't want to throw a little bet on it, 8-1, fine. But I wouldn't be drafting a running back in the first round, especially when he played against a little bit tougher tougher competition. He wasn't as explosive as he was when he's going up against San Diego State and Hawaii and the rest of the crew. So I'd be a little cautious with him. Although he looks like a bowling ball, he's completely shredded. I mean, he's he's a scary looking specimen, but I'm not sure if I would go as high as a top 5 pick on a running back.
We're going to expand on that with Adam Hill of the Las Vegas Review-Journal. He covers Raiders. He's going to be on with us here in about 10 minutes. So we'll talk more about what's going to happen in the top 10 of the draft with Adam Hill. Parting shot here, Kentucky Derby, May 3rd. You're a big horse player. Give us your overview of what you're looking at here a couple weeks out from the Derby.
Well, here's the situation. All the Bafferts don't want to go the distance. They're just not cut out to make the 10 furlong. So the one horse that stands out, who is the favorite, is Journalism, Mike McCarthy trained horse. And the only issue with him is he's going to be able to make a trip because he comes from far back and in a 20 horse field. So I'm going to be playing some supers. I'm a big super player on Derby Day. I'm going to be key in Journalism and all those supers. So we'll have a better update in about 2 weeks from today when we get out to Vegas.
That's what I was going to say. Took the words right out of my mouth. Chris Macero at Real Gauge up on social media. Chris, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Got it.
All right, now he can get back into the kitchen and make his scrambled eggs.
Yes, he can. For those who are just joining us and do not know that reference, Matt Youmans last week alleged that no men make eggs.
I said not many.
You're changing your tone now.
No,
You're changing your tone now.
I didn't say none. There's exceptions to every rule. Guys like you and Chris Macero who whip up a big breakfast in the kitchen. I'd say most guys don't do that.
Made a nice scramble for the wife the other day. A little spinach, tomatoes, some Swiss cheese,
Okay.
with some sliced mango and some fresh-made hash browns.
Just like that Guy Fieri guy. You going to walk in here someday with your hair bleached and spiked?
I think it's a pretty good skill to have to be able to cook.
I mean, I've had a girlfriend who could do that. Yeah.
Well, that's the tough part. My wife cannot cook, and that's the brutal part about it. All right,
I bet you Shedeur Sanders, by the way, is not scrambling eggs.
Well, Shedeur Sanders not doing anything like he's rich. I think it's not his manliness that is affording him to not be able to cook eggs. It's his richness.
Well,
I'm sure somebody helps him get out of bed.
I mean, he's not in the kitchen making breakfast for himself. He's not scrambling eggs.
There's not going to be many, especially when he goes second overall and after his jersey gets retired. I mean, he's going to have the life in front of him.
I mean, seriously, if you had to pick a spot where he's going to go right now, Sanders, where's he going to go? Steelers are number 21?
I would make the Steelers the favorite. If we go back to what we played yesterday from Aaron Rodgers, it seems like that marriage is not going to happen. I guess we make it a small favorite that Rodgers would not play in the NFL next year unless some sort of injury happens and maybe he wants to sign during camp or whatever it is.
I can see that.
But
you wonder why it hasn't happened now. Why the Steelers haven't signed him or why he hasn't signed with the Steelers.
There's no reason for it not.
Yeah. It should have happened already.
Unless part of the deal is that he is telling them it's not money. Because here's the thing. He emphasized greatly that it wasn't about the money yesterday. Mm-hmm. What was not asked is, would you be bothered if they draft your replacement while you're on the team? And if he has these talks with the Steelers and the Steelers are telling him, yeah, dude, we really want you. We're also probably going to draft a quarterback in the first round if we can get our hands on the guy we want. And if he takes umbrage, that's like, oh, I don't know about that. No, I don't want. Well, then that's the holdup. That makes a lot of sense. But it is a man without a job and a team that desperately needs a man of his skill set. There's no reason why that marriage would not work. By the way, the D-backs have taken an 8-7 lead top of the 8th inning. This game is absolutely ridiculous.
This is a wild baseball game at Wrigley. Cubs are up, 7-1?
Yeah.
Now trail 8-7. And 2 late inning grand slams, one by each team, and flies over the total of 11.5, and it was 2-1 when we came on the air 50 minutes ago.
Yeah. And going back to what our whole point here is, I'm kind of hoping that some markets get pretty cheap on Shedeur to be the second quarterback taken. I still think it's actually a pretty strong case he could be. Now, we did read the headline yesterday that one NFL insider said that the meeting went so poor with the Steelers that he's not going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler.
I don't know.
There's so much nonsense out there.
There's a lot of stuff out there you can't believe, though.
Correct. Which
don't
means
believe everything you read, right?
What's that?
Don't believe everything you read, especially around the NFL draft.
I mean, I figured everything was truth.
There's so much
I've been
BS
betting
out
everything
there.
just on every single bit of information I read.
It is very important to tune in to VSiN's draft coverage, though, next Thursday night. I'm going to be here with Tim Murray.
Yes, you are.
And also Matt Brown.
Yep.
Maybe Mike Somich. And it's going to be VSiN primetime, 7 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be all about the NFL draft. We love this show every year. You and I have done this show since the beginning of VSiN 8 years ago.
Very much, yes.
Yeah.
Very much enjoy it, too. So if you want to, you can listen and watch. Go to VSiN.com/draft or on the VSiN Watch app. But as Matt mentioned, the VSiN draft coverage is going to be great on April 24th, that primetime edition. And don't forget, at 11 p.m. Eastern, a cash and out draft edition with Joe Serralo. He'll have you covered afterward. All the tickets at cash and everything in between will be up there. So go to vsin.com/draft to get started or check out the VSiN Watch app. Scoring's probably not done out there in Chicago. The Diamondbacks have come back into this contest 8-7. We have a walk. So we got runners on the corners with 2 outs. So this thing could get even wilder here. It was 2-1. And then you blinked and 2 late inning grand slams get you there. Absolutely ridiculous. All right, top of the next hour. Adam Hill, Las Vegas Review-Journal. Are the Raiders really going to take Ashton Jeanty with the 6th overall pick? We get that answer next.